Good morning. This is Andre Faust. I'm doing this recording at 05:04 hours Sunday morning. Yesterday I did do a video on the Higgs strategy to why he called the early election. So if you didn't catch it, it's on Facebook and YouTube. So I go in a little bit of game theory on that one there to why he called. But tonight I'm going to be touching on the debates. There's two of them that was held. One was from Rogers, and the other one was September 3rd, and I think the other one was September 9th. And there were two separate debates, and but there was a lot of similarities between the two of them, of course. Now, what I've done, I did can it down. So don't run away scared. These are my notes that I've taken, from, there's 40 some pages here between the two debates. And I spent 3.5 hours of my life just listening to, to the debates. Well, technically it was a little shorter than that, but by the time, I typed things out and whatnot, it took about three hours, of time out of my life to try to see where the parties are at. And I'm going to try to be as objective as possible, but sometimes, in these kind of things, it is hard to be objective. So anyway, I've got it canned down, and I'm going to touch the highlights. And out of the first debate, all the leaders of the respective parties were present, and I'm going to go through the order, and it's the order that I'm going through was the same order that the Rogers debate did it, and they did it by random. So for NDP, Mackenzie Thomason, PANB, Chris Austin, Conservative, Blaine Higgs, KISS Party, Gerald Bourque, and Kevin Vickers, Liberals, and David Kuhn. So what I'm going to do is just touch on some of the highlights. I might, give some, narration here and there where it's called. So in the opening statements, and I'm just not going to name by name, I'm going to go by party. So what NDP had to say in their opening statement was they were talking about their party. They said that they had the largest diversification and a very mosaic candidacy, and most of the candidates was under 35. And they also pointed out that they attended all the events and they did not see any leaders from any of the other parties present. PANB, well, they criticized, or Chris criticized first past the post-election because he feels that it's because of majority governments that we're at where we're at today. He goes on to say the success of this particular government wasn't because of one person, but it was because of the collaboration of all the parties on many of the issues. Some, of course, it was no meeting of the minds, but with the COVID crisis, that was not one person. That wasn't Blaine Higgs. That was all parties were involved in that. So when Premier Higgs says he's the man, he's full of, you can fill in the blank. So Chris goes on to say that what they've accomplished during his period. They've pushed for language fairness. According to him, it resulted in 50 unilingual paramedic positions who otherwise wouldn't have been able to work because they could only speak one language. And he says that he supported a balanced budget, and he concludes that minority governments are effective. But on that balanced budget, I'll be coming late back to that because that's something that when I won't let the cat out of the bag. So now I move on to the Progressive Conservative. Higgs does recognize the effectiveness of an all-party committee. Before the pandemic, his government increased social assistance, put money into health care, increased minimum wage, at least by a pittance anyway. It wasn't anything that anyone was going to make, cover the cost of living, that's for sure. And he claims that he eliminated the physician billing system and rejected tax hikes on businesses. Now, I don't know why he would reject the tax unless he's someone who rejected his own tax. Like that one there didn't make sense to me. He topped up essential work and gave support for nonprofit organizations, and he claims that the Bank of Montreal has told him that New Brunswick is going to bounce back and be fully recovered within 2 years. And according to the Bank of Montreal, we're going to do it before any other province. And of course, he says, he's going to pay some attention to health and addictions, and will address some climate change. Kiss, he gave a synopsis of his experience with volunteer ambulances, his involvement with ground research, and because some of these accidents and things can create stress, he's introduced debriefing, or that's what he says. And then he goes on to say the problem with the provincial debt is that we're paying too much interest. We need to think out of the box. Now on to the Liberals. The Liberals, they say COVID had a profound impact, and they were thankful for the hard work of the frontline workers and health professionals. Like we all know, it has quite an impact. It's affected every one of our lives, and by the time this is all over, there may be some New Brunswickers and other Canadians that may be suffering incredibly hard times as a result of loss of employment. That's left to be seen. And he also, commended the New Brunswickers for following social distance rules, and that's why our numbers are so low. Well, there's another consideration too. We're only a population of 750,000. Give me a break here. We're not talking about 500,000. And you notice I've got a bias towards Higgs, and that'll be really the only one that you're going to hear me really criticize, and I'll tell you why that is. Okay, so we're at the Libs, and Kevin Vickers says he's had a lot of experience in public services, and he believes that that experience will transfer on to a better leader. He says that his idea to jumpstart the economy is to really promote and try to bring in businesses related to technology, and that one there, I've got to give him a plus for that, because I'm big on technology. I know that's where it's at. It's technology. And he goes on. He's going to do what he can for green energy and forestry and fishing. So he's going to try to work with those industries. And this is the one that's going to spark a lot of controversy. He believes that modular nuclear reactors is part of the solution. Right now, I don't know enough about modular nuclear reactors to even say if that's a good idea or not. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And of course, it says it's going to work for a better health system. Yeah, a better health system. Okay. So there's a question on the environment, and Vickers responded to Tom Bateman's question. Tom Bateman's question was that Vickers had supported maritime iron, which is one of the biggest polluters. Higgs, he says, he's going to look for a way to lower the carbon tax, or the carbon footprint. But at the same time, he acknowledges that maritime iron is the biggest polluter. This is sweet. His response to justify why he supported maritime iron, he goes on to say, but if we left it for somebody else, then it would be a lot worse. There'd be a bigger pollution if they moved to another country that didn't have the regulations. I've got a serial killer living next door. He's got on record he's killed 20 people, but geez, I could get that serial killer out, put the next one in, but he may be worse. He might have 40 people that he serial killed, right? So there's a little problem with that logic. That uh, uh, Green. Their argument is that the rest of the world has gone green. So in the first, he's challenging Vickers there. So what he's saying is, why even bother with maritime iron? That one company sets all the green initiatives to lower the carbon emissions back 15 years, or any of the progress has been made. NDP's says there has to be a transition. Green transitions but it needed to happen yesterday. Now it's to focus on the education and training to have people with the skills to work at the new jobs. And yeah, he's right. I've thought about that many times. About is that these new jobs are going to be very highly skilled, and I get wondering, you know, because of some of these skills require really some ability to really think in abstract terms, and unfortunately, it's not something that everybody can do. When I was taking my statistics course, we were all, they're Dean's List or honors roll, so they're very brilliant fellow students that I had, and come October, 1/4 of the classroom left because those people could not visualize the formulas associated, the abstract methods associated with statistical analysis. So that has nothing to do on how smart a person is. It's like a musician. Either you have it or you don't. And if you don't have that ability to think in abstract math, these new jobs, you won't have a chance for it. It's only the only small proportion of the population that's going to have it. So moving along to PNAB, fossil fuels have to be phased out over a period of time. Chris Austin says the government should give incentives to homeowners to convert to renewable resources and to do it without raising taxes. That I do agree with that statement. That we need to phase it out. We can't. We have a hard time with drastic changes like this. We do have a hard time with it. So he's on the right track, but at the same time, it's the training and educating those that will have the aptitude to learn the new skills. Like I said earlier, a lot of people just won't have it. It has nothing. Like I said, it has nothing to do with intelligence. It's an innate thing. Either you think in abstract math or you don't. Some of these algorithms, they're beauts, I'll tell you. I'm just starting to get involved in artificial intelligence, and I'm starting to look at some of the algorithms there, and I'm just going, holy beep. It's pushing me right to the limits there. I'm not going to figure it out in a couple of hours, I'll put it that way. Yeah. And of course, cons is the conservatives are pushing, they're saying that the small nuclear reactors is the way to go. A memorandum of agreement was signed with Alberta and Saskatchewan, and that's in the works. So anyway, so that's pretty well what the first debate was all about. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible. Now, my critiques with Higgs, I remember when he was with CORE, and being French was was the worst thing possible in New Brunswick. He really despised the French people. I know, when he ran in the last election, he came up with this, thing. Well, I'm no longer in the same mindset as I was with CORE. I've sent my kids to French immersion. Well, all he's proven is that he's a good father, that he knows that there's better opportunities if you're bilingual in this province. So, as a good father, yeah, you want to stack the cards for your kids. But he himself, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he is a changed man. Maybe the three spirits of Christmas came and visited him, until he made a derogatory remark about Quebec. Well, my home province is Quebec, even though I've lived here in New Brunswick for 60 years. It's still, I've got connections with Quebec, and I was very insulted by that. That's what he went and said. He said that, the Federals were treating Quebec as a special child, as the favorite child of the family, because they received $32 billion. Yeah, the numbers seem very high, but let's break that down. What that translates into, you see how equalization payment works is based on your population. So you get so much per head, basically. Well, in Quebec, I don't know what their population is right offhand, but when that $13.25 billion is worked out per capita, it translates into $1,527. New Brunswick received $2,012,000, and that translates into 2,826 people dollars per New Brunswicker. Versus Quebec, 1,527. So that told me. Now I'm starting to think, maybe a little Freudian. Maybe that was a Freudian slip on Blaine Higgs's part. The other kind of thing that's bothered me about him is he's a bullshitter. Maybe some of you will remember when the equalizations payments were announced to what New Brunswick was going to get. I said at that time, I said, you watch, that little mother is going to take that money, and when it comes time to budget, he's going to attribute it. He's going to put it in the kitty, and he's going to say, well, look how well we've done. Well, the only reason why that budget was balanced, and Vickers pointed that out during the debate, was that was money given by the federal government, and that was a lot of it given to New Brunswick. And even during the COVID, billions of dollars were given. Money was given for infrastructure development. So Higgs is full of shit. Sorry about that, but and then he makes the illusions that the provinces were out of it, because of what he did as a government. No, it was because of a minority government is why we did, so well. He's, and when I watched him and Vickers Vickers a little different kind of a person, but there was personality similarities, and that's put me a yellow flag for Vickers as well. So he's not out of the jam. It's politics is a strange game, I guess, in all ways. Now, again, going back to see, even his name escaped my mind. Blaine Higgs. I should be able to remember that because of the Higgs boson in quantum physics. When he first took office, he did slash and burn. He walked in. I was working in industry that I'd seen overnight, bang, wiped out with his first set of cutbacks. But I'm going to go into political philosophies in a few moments there, because this is the thing when people go up to the polls that they don't think. But before I go there, I'm just going to give a couple, what my feelings are for each of the leaders. The young fellow, Mackenzie Thomason, he's an upcoming star. There's just no way. The guy's got talent. He's 23 years old, and during both debates, he stood toe to toe against some of the very experienced people like Vickers and like Higgs. People are very accustomed to being on the stage and debating. This kid is 23 years old, and really, given his age and his life experience, he smoked them. He was quick. When the questions were put to him, he was quick to respond. So that's a fellow. He's got a future. The Kiss is a hot book. I gotta say, give an E for effort. he tries to simplify things. He does use his life as an analogy to how to run the province, which unfortunately doesn't work like that, and it doesn't work like to run it like a business either. Because you run it like a business and you get rid of welfare, you get rid of everything because they're not profit, they don't make money. They, they're expenditures in that respect, but they're also an investment too. Uh, so. Chris Austin. Uh, I've got to speak to him personally, and I've got in behind. I've got a pretty good feel of what the philosophy is there. There is conservative there, but it's not as extreme. But the problem that PNAB is running into is that some of the people that support them are really, to the left. But the party itself. Right now, as I know, they've got 3 candidates in the Francophone ridings. They've taken great efforts to provide bilingualism from their websites and their communications. E for effort for that. Chris is a very honorable man. David Kuhn, excellent, person. You know, he's committed to green energy, and he's committed for the betterment of people. So good fellow there. I don't take anything away. Kevin Vickers, he has his strong points and he has his weak points, and I'm not going to go too much on the weak points. He does have a lot of experience that he brings to the table that may prove beneficial, but it's that one there's a wait and see, because unfortunately this COVID didn't give any of the the parties really good campaigning, and that's what makes it hard to predict how this is really going to turn out, because a lot what influences people is that one-to-one contact, and if it's not there, or if it's behind a mask, we're missing something. So it's really hard to know what's going to happen in that particular situation. But we'll know tomorrow night what the results are going to be. I'm just trying to think if I'm leaving anybody out. I've covered KISS, I've covered NDP, I've covered PNAB. I've covered Blaine Higgs. Unfortunately, I couldn't say anything positive about the person that go conservative and vote austerity. So here's one of the things that I've put on my Facebook several times in the past, and I've worded something that there is no right and wrong, but can you tell me the philosophy of the party that you support? I never got no response for that, and I put that on several times. So I'm just going to go over a bit about political philosophy before signing off, if you're still with me. So what we have is, now there's a lot more than these 3, but I just wanted to bring that point out when you think of liberal, conservative, or socialism, because those are the 3 that mostly people talk to. But most people don't know what liberalism is, what really conservative, and what socialism is. So you see there's many different flavors. For example, in liberalism, you have classical liberalism, social liberalism, conservative liberalism, neoliberalism, American liberalism, national liberalism. You can tell it's early in the morning. Conservatives, you have cultural conservative, you have, social conservative, you have religious conservative, you have fiscal conservative, you have paleo conservative, you have neoconservative, and socialism, you have democratic socialism, you have revolutionary socialism, you have utopian socialism, you have libertarian socialism, you have market socialism, you have eco-socialism. So now I put this up because if I went and explained every one of these things here, I could do 2 hours on each of those flavors to describe it. But it's when you're thinking, like, one of the traits for conservative is austerity at the federal level or at the provincial level. When conservative goes in, it's cut, slash, and burn. Hey, cut, slash, and burn. I like that. It's got a kind of a ring. Cut, slash, and burn. Yeah, I like that. Jeez. So I guess tomorrow's going to be the day of truth. Uh, Regardless what party you belong. Oh, before I go on, there was something that young Mackenzie Thomason said. Uh, when he said, that they have the group, their candidates tend to be 35 and under. And that's, they think, out of all the leaders, he's the only one that has shown to me that he has at least some sociological imagination, that he is thinking down 20, 30 years from now. Like for me, if I'm around 20 years, oh geez, I'm doing good. But for him, he's going to be around for another 60 years, easy. And the decisions that are being made today is going to affect him and his generation. And if we don't start thinking, ahead, because the economy is going to be totally different. As I touched on a bit on these high-end skills, on people being able to think in abstract maths. That's what's going to be up there in the future. And it's not like right now, okay, I run, I'm a captain, right? But if I lose my captain's job, I can go sweep a floor. I can go work at a convenience store. I can go work as a laborer. But 30, 40 years, a lot of those jobs won't exist if you're not, if you're not technically minded. You're out of the game. So it's going to have to be an economy that's going to have to be ready for that. So having said that, I'm going to sign off. Don't know what my time was. I've lost all sense of time. This COVID thing has thrown my routine off completely. I'm on the autism spectrum, highly functioning. It used to be called Asperger's, and one of the things that I need is structure. And once that structure is taken, well, I usually can handle it in short terms, but this has been a long term that, everything's changed. Even walking into, stores, part of our communications is reading facial expressions and body language. When you have a fucking mask over your face, that's, 50% of your communication that's cut off. And, it'll be interesting to see, what the future social psychologists and sociologists has to say about the negative effects of what we're going through here on trying to mitigate a bigger problem, which on the mask, I really, unless you're within, a very short distance, our range, unless you don't try to hawk a loogie and try to get distance out of it, most it doesn't go past an arm's length. So really anything like that, the mask doesn't do anything because it just doesn't get there. It's not, an aerosol, even though I did see some, those people who are supporting wearing masks, and they say within short distance, yes, by all means. Once you start getting, 3 feet, 4 feet away, the further away, the less, that it gets. But at 2 meters, unless, well, to give you an example, right, you've got a hose. You all did it as a kid, right? You let the hose run, and you see the neighbor walk by and you want to get him, right? So you close off the hose. All of a sudden, that 2 inches of that water fell out. Now you've got it propelling, 40 feet. Well, that was the kind of examples that were given about the distances that if, someone breathes or coughs. But they're changing, the physics is the same, of course, yes. The more pressure you create, the further the projectile will go. Yeah, of course, yeah. That's not rocket science. So, you get those kind of deceptions, right? So anyway, on that note, I don't want to say good night, good morning. Anyway, if you hung in, you've done well. Until next time, take care and stay safe.